So this session is related to halogens. The term halogen means salt former, as these elements tend to form a salt when they react with a metal. You have to learn their appearance as well as the physical state. Like example, for a fluorine, it is a light yellow or a pale yellow gas which is highly reactive. Why fluorine is highly reactive? Because as we go down the group, the size increases, and non-metal tend to gain electron. So fluorine is smaller in size as compared to that of chlorine. Because of small size, it can gain electron easily. That's why fluorine is more reactive than chlorine. So fluorine is pale yellow or light yellow. Chlorine is yellowish green gas. Bromine is red brown or a volatile liquid. And iodine is black or purple solid, which easily sublimate. Then trend in the melting or the boiling point. As we go down the group, the melting and the boiling point increases. What is the reason for that? Because these are simple molecular structure. So they have dipole, induced dipole force or London dispersion force. So we have fluorine, then we have chlorine. The difference between them, they both have dipole induced dipole force, but the difference is the number of electrons. As fluorine is having 9 plus 9, 18 electrons in each molecule, where chlorine is having 17 plus 7, 34 electrons in each molecule. The greater the number of electrons, greater the attraction between the electron and the nucleus, or greater the dipole-induced dipole or London dispersion force. That's why as we go down the group, the melting point will increase. Melting point or the boiling point will increase, as it depends on the number of electron in the molecule. Then the more reactive halogen displaces the less reactive halogen from its compound. So what will be the observation if a chlorine is added to potassium bromide? Like example, we have chlorine gas and we bubble through an aqueous potassium bromide KBr. This equation is not balanced right now. As we know, because chlorine is more reactive, so as a result it is more reactive, it will displace this bromine from its compound. So when chlorine displaces bromine, as a result it will produce potassium chloride and bromine molecule. Then the balance equation we should put 2 here. The equation is balanced. So what will be the observation here? As you can see in the beginning, if in both ways it is valid, but in this figure, it is in this table, it is given aqueous chlorine. Like you have a dissolved chlorine and you add to potassium bromide. So aqueous chlorine, originally the chlorine solution was yellow, but as a result, because chlorine displaces the bromine, so it forms potassium chloride and bromine molecule. So it will displace this bromine and the yellow color will, yeah, disappear, or the yellow solution will disappear, and due to the presence of this bromine molecule, it will turn to be brown. Same way, if we bubble or if we add aqueous chlorine to potassium iodide, again the more reactive halogen displaces the less reactive halogen from its compound. So we have example a chlorine. In this example, it is aqueous and it is added to potassium iodide Ki. We know chlorine is more reactive than iodine, so chlorine will displace this iodine from its compound. So as a result, it will form potassium chloride and iodine molecule. So the brown solution, basically what happened, as chlorine is displacing this iodine and iodine molecule is formed in the solution, so that's why we'll have an observation of a brown solution. If high concentration iodine is there, like if more iodine is produced, then it will be brown. And if small amount of iodine is there, then it will be yellow. So yellow or brown, it depends on the concentration of iodine in the mixture. And iodine is having a different color in different medium. Like example, if it's an organic solvent, then it will be pink in color. Otherwise, in aqueous, it will be yellow or brown. So these are the color of the solution. So the color of a solution in a test tube Basically, if there's a chlorine, then it will be very pale green solution, often colorless, we can also say. Bromine is there, a yellow solution, and iodine is there, which is a brown solution. So the idea is that always the more reactive halogen displaces the less reactive halogen from its compound. And oxidizing strength decreases as we go down the group. What does it mean? As you can see, when we write the oxidation number, chlorine, because it is a molecule, so its oxidation number is 0. The element have oxidation number 0. We added potassium bromide, KBr. So as a result, it will produce potassium chloride and bromine molecule. So in element state, their oxidation number is 0, so chlorine is 0 and bromine is also 0. But when they form a compound, if potassium belongs to group 1, so it loses 1 electron, bromine gain 1. Same thing, potassium loses 1, chlorine gain 1. So this chlorine molecule, originally it is 0 and turned into -1. So if 0 turned into -1, it means this change is a reduction. And if this change is a reduction, it means it is acting like an oxidizing agent. So oxidizing strength, the tendency to oxidize the other or oxidizing agent, as this oxidizing strength decreases as we go down the group. So it means fluorine is better oxidizing agent than chlorine. Chlorine is better than bromine, and bromine is better oxidizing agent than iodine. And oxidizing agent by itself, it is reduced, and reduction is a gain of electron. Is it clear this part? Any doubt till this point? Then observation in organic solvent. If the same reaction is carried out in organic solvent, as I mentioned, that for bromine it will be yellow in organic, but for iodine it will be purple or pink. Why? Because if it is dilute, like a smaller quantity of iodine is there, pink is acceptable. If high concentration of iodine is there, then it will be purple. The reaction occur in the similar manner, but the observation, the final color of a solution depends on which substance we have. So example, if chlorine is added to bromine, it will form a chloride and a bromine molecule. So if bromine molecule is there, if it is in aqueous substance, then it will be yellow is there, same as in organic. But if iodine is formed, then it will be in aqueous substances, we have brown, but in organic solvent, it will be purple or pink is also acceptable. Then oxidation reaction with metal and the metal ions by halogen. So oxidation reaction, oxidation is a loss of electron. As metal they react, they tend to lose electron. So the comparison is there, the comparison with the molecule and with ion. Like example, we have iron is reacting with chlorine, and as a result it produces iron 3 chloride, FeCl3. The equation is 2Fe plus 3Cl2 gives 2FeCl3. When we write the charge, because in element state this is 0, this will be 0. Each chlorine is -1, so 3 will be -3. But when we work out the oxidation number, we compare with individual, like for each. And iron should be +3. So iron 0 turn into +3, 0 turn into +3. This change is oxidation, or it is acting like a reducing agent. For chlorine, 0 turn to -1, because -3 is for 3. So 0 turn to -1, that is for 1. So that change is a reduction, or it is acting like an oxidizing agent. So, and as we know, we have already discussed, like fluorine is better oxidizing agent That's compared to chlorine. Chlorine is better compared to bromine, and bromine is better compared to iodine. Because of smaller in size, small size, fluorine can gain electron easily. That's why it is a better oxidizing agent. By itself, it will be reduced. But what if we have these ions are present and they are reacting with a molecule or the halide ion? So when we compare, like example, we have iron 3 and it is reacting with iodide ion. So as a result, when iron 3 is reacting with iodide ion, what we observe iron 3 turn into iron 2 and iodide ion is turned into iodine molecule. What is the reason for that? Why this conversion happen? Because when we compare the size of these ions, we have fluoride ion is smaller in size compared to that of chloride, and chloride ion is smaller in size compared to bromide, and bromide is smaller compared to iodide. So iodide is the one which is much larger in size. So when we compare in this reaction, what happened? Iodide ion turned into iodine molecule. So when iodide ion turned into iodine molecule, it means this change -1. So it is an oxidation, and oxidation is a loss of electron. So when we compare which one can lose electron easily, so in that case, iodide ion can lose electron easily. So this change is oxidation, or iodide ion is acting like a reducing agent. So iodide ion is better reducing agent than chloride ion, and chloride ion is better reducing agent than bromide. Iodide ion is better reducing agent than bromide, and bromide ion is better reducing agent chloride, and chloride is better reducing agent than fluoride. Because of size, iodide ion is much larger in size, so it can lose electron easily compared to bromine. Bromine is can lose electron easily compared to iodine, compared to chlorine, and chlorine can lose electron easily compared to fluorine. So two things are there. One is the oxidation power. So oxidation power, or the substance which it has a tendency to oxidize the other, or we can compare that, as you can see this one, fluorine is there, and sorry, iron is there and chlorine is there. It turned into chloride -1 and iron is +3. So 0 turned to +3. So that is oxidation. So for chlorine, reduction happened. But for chlorine reduction happen, it means it is acting like an oxidizing agent. So when we compare the oxidation power, so in that case, fluorine is having a greater oxidation power compared to that of chlorine. Chlorine is having a better oxidation power compared to that of bromine, and bromine is better oxidation power compared to that of iodine. But when we compare the reduction power, means tendency to reduce the other, that is refers to the reduction power. So when we compare the reduction power, as you can see here, iodide ion is reacting with iron 3 and turned into iodine molecule and iron 2. So it means it reduces iron 3 to iron 2. So which one will have a better reduction power? Iodide will have a better reducing in terms of ion compared to that of bromide, and bromide is better compared to that of chloride, and chloride is better compared to that of fluoride. So oxidation power is comparison. The tendency to oxidize the other, by themselves they will reduce by gaining electrons. So in that case, fluorine is at the top. But reduction power means help in reduction, by themselves will be oxidized or lose electron. So in that case, iodide ion will have a better reduction power compared to other ions, or it will reduce the substance to a lower oxidation numbers. Is it clear, this concept of oxidation and reduction powers? So example, sometime what happened, the same element oxidize and reduce. When we have the same element oxidize or reduce, we call that as disproportionation reaction. As you can see, when we bubble chlorine gas through water, so as a result it will form HClO and HCl, both are aqueous. So when we work out the oxidation number is a charge appear on the atom when they form a compound. So here, because chlorine is an element, oxidation number 0, each oxygen is -2, each hydrogen will be +1, 2 are +2. Same way, when we work out for this one, hydrogen is +1, oxygen is -2, so chlorine should be +2 because the overall compound is neutral. And here chlorine belongs to group 7 -1, so hydrogen is +1. So when we check out the change, chlorine was 0 and it turned into +1. And chlorine is 0, it turned into -1. So in the first change, it appeared that the chlorine oxidation happened. But the second change, 0 turned to -1, it means reduction happened. So the same element, the condition, there should be a same element oxidized or reduced. That's why this reaction is known as disproportionation reaction. So the condition for this is the same element should be oxidized or reduced. Another example, say you have hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is not a stable compound. It can decompose into water and oxygen. So when we work out the oxidation number here, the equation is not balanced. I'm just using the oxidation numbers. So because each hydrogen is +1, so 2 hydrogen will be +2. And because this compound overall it is neutral, so for 2 oxygen it should be -1. So for 2 oxygen it will be -2. For each oxygen it should be -1. So -1 is the oxidation number of oxygen in hydrogen peroxide. And then when we write each hydrogen is +1, so 2 hydrogen +2, so oxygen will be -2, and here oxygen is 0. So -1 oxygen turned to -2, so this change is a reduction. And -1 oxygen changed to 0, so this change is oxidation. So the same element in this case is oxidized and reduced. So whenever the same element oxidation and reduction happen, this type of reaction is known as disproportionation reaction, or you can also say disproportional reaction. So example, we'll observe a different reaction, different change in oxidation number when halogen is reacting with cold sodium hydroxide solution and it is reacting with hot sodium hydroxide solution. You have to learn these equations. You should know what will be the product. So basically what happened, if we add aqueous chlorine, like a chlorine solution, to sodium hydroxide, what will the result? It will form sodium chloride, it will produce sodium chlorate and water. This is what is used to kill bacteria, the bleach. So when we write the oxidation number, the first one, chlorine is 0. For sodium it is +1, oxygen is -2, hydrogen is +1. For sodium chloride, sodium is +1, chlorine -1. For NaClO, sodium is +1, oxygen is -2, so chlorine should be +1. And for water, -1, and each hydrogen will be +1. So when we check the oxidation number, for the one which does not change, we'll erase that hydrogen +1 and +1, so it does not change. For sodium, it is +1 before and after, so it does not change. For oxygen, it is -2 all the around, so it does not change. So the only substance for which there is a change is chlorine. So chlorine 0 turned to -1 and chlorine 0 turned to +1. So this is the change is a reduction. The top change is oxidation. So this is actually a redox reaction, but also disproportionation reaction in which the same element is oxidized or reduced. So chlorine, bromine, and iodine in aqueous solution will react with cold sodium hydroxide solution, and the color of the halogen will disappear or it will turn to colorless. But if we have a hot dilute solution, basically what happened in a hot dilute solution, this compound further break down or dissociate. So this is the overall equation, but practically what happened when we use a hot solution, because increasing a temperature reduce the stability of the compound, so this NaClO basically decompose or break down. So the equation when we are using hot sodium hydroxide solution, as a result what it form NaClO, NaClO3 plus H2O. So what is the oxidation number? For other it remains same. So chlorine is 0. Here is -1, but what about oxidation number of chlorine in NaClO? Each oxygen is -2, so 3 oxygen will be -6. Sodium is +6, so chlorine should be +5. So chlorine oxidation number is +5 here. So 0 turn to -1, that is reduction, and 0 turn to +1, that is oxidation. So same element is oxidized or reduced. So if we use high temperature, if you use a warm solution or a hot solution of dilute sodium hydroxide, in that case, the change in oxidation number of a chlorine will be greater. As you can see, it changed from -1 to +5 compared to the previous when we are using at low temperature. When we are using at cold or a low temperature, so it turned from -1 to +1. So -1 to +1 and -1 to, sorry, this one is 0 to, not -1, because originally it is 0. So here the original 0 oxidation number, it turned into -1, that is a reduction, and 0 turned to +1, that is oxidation. So it is oxidized to a greater oxidation number. But when we are using at a low temperature, the 0 turned to -1, so reduction, and 0 turned to +1, it is oxidation. So these are the changes which we observe when we are using a warm solution of sodium hydroxide. Then how we name these compounds? So with hot alkali, it will also occur the halogen then oxidized and it goes to a higher oxidation number. So how we name this, like example, it is written NaClO. So how to name the compound? The first metal is written, so it is sodium. Because of chlorine and oxygen, so it is chlorate. And Roman number actually represent the oxidation number of chlorine here. So sodium chlorate 1, when we write NaClO, which was formed here, so what is the name, the standard name for this? So sodium, because of this it is chlorate. Whenever element is there with oxygen, so the name is at ATE, that's why it is chlorate. And the Roman 1 is actually representing the oxidation number of chlorine. Same thing, NaClO3, so sodium because of the metal, chlorate because chlorine is with oxygen, and number 5 is actually representing the oxidation number of chlorine. And K2SO4, potassium sulfate. So potassium, sulfur with oxygen, sulfate. And what is the oxidation number of sulfur? Each oxygen is -2, so 4 oxygen will be -8. Potassium will be +2 total. So the sulfur should be +6. That's why it is potassium sulfate 6. And K2SO3, so each oxygen is -2, so 3 oxygen will be -6. Potassium will be +2, so sulfur will be +4. So this is, we can say potassium sulfate 4, we can say, or when oxidation number is lower, like number of oxygen are less, so we can also use and say that sulfide. The name should end at ITE. So either you say the same name and write the different oxidation number. So I can say it is potassium sulfate 6 and this is potassium sulfate 4. Or I can, if I don't want to say the oxidation number, then I can say one is potassium sulfate, another one is potassium sulfite. FITE or ITE we can write. Is it clear? the products when we use a warm sodium hydroxide and cold sodium hydroxide with halogens. Any doubt till this point? Then iodine thiosulfate redox titration. Basically, what are redox titration? One is there are two types of titration normally we carry out in our lab. One is the acid-base titration. The term titration means using a known substance, we find the concentration or the volume of unknown substance. We call that as titration technique. But the titration is actually divided into two main categories. It can be an acid-based titration, which we did in IGCSE, or it can be a redox titration. Redox titration means oxidative, in which when a chemical reaction occurs, oxidation and reduction happen. We call that as a redox titration. And redox titration, there are many like classes of the redox titration, like sodium thiosulfate is one of them. Then iodine and potassium manganate is one of them. So thiosulfate redox titration, what happened in iodine and thiosulfate titration? This is a thiosulfate. When we react with iodine, as a result, what happened? Iodine convert into iodide, and what is the change in the oxidation number? As you can see, so each oxygen is -1, so 3 oxygen will be -6. Because the overall is -2, so this should be the charge here, because it is written S2O3, and the net charge on this molecule, it is written 2 minus or -2. So each oxygen is -1, so 3 oxygen, each oxygen is -2, so 3 oxygen will be -6. And for that case, this should be +2, because each will be +2, so 2 will be +4. So +4 -6, that's why the resultant charge is -2. And in S4O6, each oxygen is -2, so 6 oxygen will be -12. The net charge is -2 here, so this should be +10. So what is the oxidation number here for sulfur and thiosulfate? So what is the oxidation number? Because we work out for individual, so 2 are +4, so each is +2. But what about oxidation number here? So 4 is having 10, so each will have 10 divided by 4, it means plus 2.5. So oxidation number rarely, like normally we write in a whole number, but it is not true for all the cases. It can be in decimal as well. So here for each sulfur, as you can see, for each sulfur, originally it was +2. Originally it is +2, it changed to plus 2.5. And for iodine, originally it was 0, it turned into -1. So 0 turned to -1, that is reduction. And +2 changed to 2.5, that is oxidation. That's why we call this change as a redox reaction. And whenever we are using an iodine thiosulfate titration, we use starch as an indicator. Why we use starch as an indicator? Because when concentration of the iodine decreases in the solution will turn a light yellow, pale yellow. As the solution turned yellow, and when all of the iodine is completely used up, the solution will be colorless. But because the yellow is a pale or a light color, so it will be very difficult to identify the moment when all of the iodine is completely used up. So for that purpose, we use starch as an indicator. Once the color get fade or color get lighter, that moment we add a starch. And when we add a starch, so it will, in the presence of iodine, it will be blue black, the starch. And then when the blue black color suddenly disappear, what we can do, we can identify that at that moment all of the iodine is used up, and using that concept we can work out the concentration of thiosulfate or concentration of iodine. So the basic concept of redox titration is it's a titration in which redox reaction take place, like when two substances are mixed together, one is oxidized and another one is reduced. How we carry out this iodine thiosulfate titration? Normally, this iodine thiosulfate titration, it is used to find the concentration of oxidizing agent. So how it works? Example, we have an oxidizing agent. Example, OA is oxidizing agent. Any oxidizing agent, we have OA as an oxidizing agent. First, what we do, in this oxidizing agent, we add excess of potassium iodide. Excess means more than enough, too much quantity of potassium iodide is added. So once we add too much potassium iodide, oxidizing agent will be used up because that is a limiting reagent. So as a result, the iodide, because oxidizing agent help in oxidation by itself, is reduced. So what this oxidizing agent will do, it will convert this iodide ion into iodine molecule. I'm not completing the full equation because this oxidizing agent can be any oxidizing agent. So if we want to find the concentration of oxidizing agent, first what we do, we take the oxidizing agent specific volume, and using that volume we add excess of potassium iodide. As a result, that oxidizing agent is completely used up, and in the conical flask you're left with iodine molecule. So first, in a conical flask we were having oxidizing agent, then we add what? We add excess of potassium iodide, Ki, or it can be sodium iodide, not necessarily potassium, basically anything which can supply an iodide ion. So when we add excess of potassium iodide, this oxidizing agent will be used up, and what we are left with, we are left with iodine molecule. So as we are left with iodine molecule in the solution, we'll have more iodine molecule. So this solution will be yellow in color because of iodine. Or if too much iodine is there, you can also say brown. Normally in the beginning, as we add excess too much iodine, so we can say it is originally brown in color. Now once the solution is brown in color, what we do, we fill up the burette. A burette is there, and that burette is filled with what? It is filled with sodium thiosulfate. So the burette is filled with sodium thiosulfate, and we add sodium thiosulfate. When we add sodium thiosulfate, as the amount of iodine, because iodine is more in the solution, so it was brown. But as the amount of iodine start to decrease, the solution get lighter or yellow. The moment solution appear to be very light, that moment what we do, we add starch as an indicator. So what is the purpose of the starch? The starch will act as an indicator. So when we add this starch, because of the presence of iodine, it will turn out to be blue-black, the solution. So starch and iodine, it gave a solution of blue-black. But we'll continue adding sodium thiosulfate until all of the iodine is used up. Once all of the iodine is used up, the solution will disappear. The color of the solution will disappear because iodine molecule is color, but iodide ion is colorless, because thiosulfate, when it is reacting with iodine molecule, it is forming an iodide ion which make the solution colorless. So this whole solution will turn out to be colorless solution. Now we know, using a burette, what we do, we will read the volume of the solution we need, and we know the concentration of thiosulfate originally. So concentration into volume will get the moles of thiosulfate. So using the moles of thiosulfate, we'll use the ratio, we'll get the moles of iodine. And using the moles of iodine, we'll take a ratio and we'll get the moles of oxidizing agent. And then moles divided by volume will get the concentration of oxidizing agent. So this is a technique which is used to find the concentration of oxidizing agent. Is it clear the basic concept of iodine thiosulfate titration and how it is done? So example question related to this, like the reaction of halide with, but this iodine thiosulfate titration, it was there, detail was there in before, like the old syllabus, the whole detail was there, you should be able to explain, but not now. Now they don't ask this writing a full procedure of iodine thiosulfate. That is now in A2. But you should know like what happened in iodine and thiosulfate titration, because it is also a part of redox reaction. Then reaction of halide ion with concentrated sulfuric acid.